Disclaimer, I'm an offensive person. I say offensive things. This vlog will probably be offensive, and I don't really recommend you watch any episode ever. That being said, here we go. So some of you may know that I have the intention to start a vlog soon. I wasn't going to do it just yet. As you can see, right now I just have a plain white wall behind me. I'm working on creating a background, gathering my equipment and getting everything together. Plus, I've been dealing with some health stuff lately. So it's probably going to be in the coming week or two that that was going to actually start. But the Orlando Massacre seems worth being a first vlog post for me, because there will be a lot of things that involve religion, politics, and such from my vlog, as well as stupider. I mean, if you look at the description on the page, on my vlogs page, it's all about secular expression and skeptical investigation, plus fart jokes. There will still be, I'm sure, too many fart jokes, but that's not what today is about, and that's not what's important here, because this is a serious issue. And even though I'm a pretty inappropriate person, so I probably won't be able to help myself but make at least one or two offensive jokes. We'll just see how it goes. I do want to comment on that. So I made a post about this on my personal Facebook earlier, and that's I don't actually expect this to start a meaningful conversation about gun control. Let me start off by saying, absolutely, I recognize that this was an act of terrorism from a person who sympathized with ISIS. Sounds like the more we're learning is that he bought these weapons recently, that he had been under FBI investigation in the past. You can hear my dog coughing in the background. He's been under FBI investigation in the past for things, for potentially being a terrorist sympathizer. Ultimately, they came up with nothing, but this individual, it sounds like the two weapons he used, was able to purchase these weapons in just a short time, and that there were signs. So the biggest reason why I don't think this is going, I don't know how we still said we're not going to talk about it after the Sandy Hook shooting in 2012. We aren't. That's why this isn't going to result in anything, any conversation that not even probably, it needs to happen. It's not going to. 20 dead children, especially, so right now the obstructionists are members of Congress who are NRA endorsed. To put it simply, the NRA is who's in the way of meaningful gun, not even legislation, studies, because it does require legislation. We can't get federal funds allotted to studying gun violence by the CDC because of the NRA. That's not going to, 20 dead kids, elementary school kids. I think they were either in kindergarten or first grade. I should know this off the top of my head, but I think it was kindergarten. That didn't start the conversation. So to an organization that is largely propped up by right-wing, extreme religious right-wing people. Not to say that that's the only people in the NRA, but that is a significant portion of who empowers the NRA. 50 gay, and I guess we don't know that everybody who was murdered was gay, but 50 people dead in a gay club is certainly not going to have more power than 20 children. So that being said, it's almost not worth talking about, like, hey, don't you see, now we need it, because this isn't going to be the turning point. And as far as executive orders go, Obama, I think, has done as much as he can in this realm at this point. And especially with this proximity to the end of his term, anything else would just infuriate even more. Even though the executive orders that he did pass were positions, past NRA positions, but as soon as Obama has that position, I wonder why it is that specifically when he feels that way, they change their mind. I'm so cynical now of this idea that if there is meaningful gun legislation that can prevent any deaths, that don't step all over the Second Amendment, because even though I would probably be pro-disarmament, I know that in America you basically accept that there are going to be guns or you get out, because I shouldn't use that accent. But that's just the way it is here. I feel like it's going to take statistics that point to that more Muslims own guns in America for any Republican to go, okay, maybe we do need to have some, but there wouldn't be any legislation meaningful there. There would maybe be an attempt at directed legislation that would be incredibly unconstitutional toward people of certain religions, which sounds absurd. It sounds like I'm saying something that would be a huge conspiracy. They're just going to ban it all from just them Muslims. But consider the fact that the person running for president is talking about banning just Muslims from entering. If that were to happen, saying just Muslims can't have guns wouldn't be far behind. So I don't know if anything can happen that will be meaningful, that won't result in some sort of, unfortunately, when the argument is about guns, pushback might involve guns. And so as cynical, I guess, is I keep using that word, and it's probably annoying at this point, but it's the word I have. So now we are going to go to the religious side of it. He was a Muslim, which is incidental, but still motivational. In other words, it was still where he found his motivation for hate. So in talking about the religious side, because I do think it is relevant, and I would, if I was talking about the Planned Parenthood shooter, which was just not very far from me in the last few months, I'd be talking about Christianity on the exact same level. So as much as it's responsible for the one, it's responsible for the other. I do take issue with what the father said. Now, he is grieving, and I would never try and attack him one-on-one or anything like that. But there is this thing about that this was he found gay culture extremely disgusting and had been angry ever since he saw a man kiss another man a few months ago. But he said that so that his hatred and why he did this was not religious, but that it was in fact because of his hatred of gays. But to me, this is their tomato. That homophobia is a religious thing. It doesn't come from secularism, for example. So though I don't think all people who hate gays are going to kill gay people, the people who do kill gay people for being gay, I got to think the odds are well above 99% that they are going to be some religion, probably an Abrahamic religion. But now moving on to that, this has been an interesting day to watch the difference in a response to a massacre where the victims are a group that are also hated in America. So this was a tweet by a man with a Middle Eastern name. I'm not going to give his handle or anything, but this is the tweet. I wake up to some dude shooting up a gay nightclub. Isn't that weird? Homosexuality is condemned by God, so that's why he let it happen, people. There's an interesting implication beyond the surface here. That's why God let it happen. I have a lot of questions for this guy on events then that God let it happen, because there's a lot of things that God hasn't condemned people for. A lot of people in bad positions that haven't been condemned, that God has let bad things happen to. Beyond that, it's just obvious bigotry, obvious intolerance, whatever word you want to use. So a lot of the networks have learned to not allow comments on certain posts. Basically, when something happens, they disable the comments because they end up being a place for just hate speech. Now, this isn't going to be as severe as the last thing, but after President Obama's speech today, Fox News left the comment section open on the short speech he gave, where he condemned it as an act of terrorism, said they're investigating, and then did bring up, here is another time where the gun thing is getting crazy. So the president gives his speech, and there is a news article that follows. I think the response that you find in the comments below shows that there is not an objectivity, that the president can't say anything. And honestly, he didn't go at length about the gun control issue. It was more of an expression of how exasperated he is with this issue. So here's some of the comments. So there's one from a user on the Fox News site called Libtards Are Us, and it says, for radical Islam to be dealt with, liberals have to be eradicated from Congress and the White House, period. This is a person saying we need to actually remove the checks and balances that exist by having opposing parties that can exist in multiple federal positions. Then a guy on the site title, I think his Fox name username is Zombieland. He had a license. He had legal right to carry. By the way, there are horrible spelling errors in all of these, but I don't know what to tell you. He had a license. He had a legal right to carry. It was Islam. A weapon sitting on the table does nothing forever. Until you pick it up and use it, this is the Nation of Islam. So to this person, I would make the same challenge about the Planned Parenthood killer, though it wouldn't surprise me to hear him defend that person for doing God's work. But I'm putting words in his mouth. He hasn't actually said that. A Muslim kills with guns that shouldn't be so easy to obtain. If that is Islam, then how is every hate action taken by the KKK or killers who are Christian or killers who cite Christianity not Christianity? If Islam needs to be attributed and responsible for this, doesn't Christianity have to be held responsible too? And the answer is no. I don't think either of them. This is a person who hates. This is a person filled with hatred that is using his religious background to justify and express it. Now, where the source of that hatred comes from, one might be able to argue is that religious background because of the immense amount of sexual oppression and misogyny that often leads to people who are violent. Islam does not have a monopoly on sexual repression and misogyny. So this is still a point that is only being made conveniently, and as soon as you challenge it, it kind of all falls apart. Here's another one. It's very, very stupid. Will Obama go to a mosque to pray over this? This is the implication, and there's a lot more comments like that Obama is a Muslim, which I believe is crazy, but no, people do genuinely believe that. And then the last comment I want to read, which I feel like Fox News must have learned their lesson by now, and yet they're still allowing. They had to disable comments after a story about President Obama's daughter graduating high school because of all the racist and racist comments using the N-words, calling them monkeys, calling them all of these super, super racist phrases. And they didn't realize apparently they should disable the comments on this one. And it seems obvious from what happened that they should have. But this is from someone on the Fox News site that goes by Jet Pro. And it says, if ISIS kills 50 or 100 gays and they die in a hail of gunfire, I can live with that. Biggest problem I have here is there are more comments like that on the Fox News site than ones that are reasonable and objective. And yet we're told that they are some sort of objective right-wing organization. But these are the people that are building them up, that are supporting them. And it's funny how many of us weren't surprised by Trump, because Trump is such an embodiment of what has been being said about the president and liberals by Fox News for so long. So yeah, I'm pretty anti-Fox News if you haven't figured it out yet. But so I brought up Trump here at the end on purpose, all to circle back into this subject. Trump responded to the attack, and this is what Donald had to say. Appreciate the congrats for being right on radical Islamic terrorism. I don't want congrats. I want toughness and vigilance. We must be smart. Okay, so there's a couple issues, and I'm going to try and go through this really, really fast. First of all, you shouldn't appreciate any sort of congratulations because you supposedly were right. Everybody has known that the terrorist attacks in America by ISIS and by Islamic terrorist groups have not ended. We all know this isn't the last one, and there is more to be done. But toughness and vigilance to him has been things like banning all Muslims from entering the country, an unconstitutional and absurd position for reasons that I'm sure I will go far more in depth with when that becomes big again, as this vlog is going to be sort of a reactionary type of vlog. There is no wall that would have prevented this. There is no ban of Muslims that would have prevented this. This was an American citizen radicalized by his hatred and then who found a group sympathetic to his hatred to swear his allegiance to, because we still don't actually know that they helped in the planning at all. And considering that he was bitter toward gays, homosexuals, it seems like he had a pretty good plan who he wanted to hurt the most. So this whole thing about toughness and vigilance, his solution so far wouldn't have worked. Though maybe, keep in mind that toughness and vigilance also to him is about torturing and killing families of terrorists, things that are internationally illegal, against international conventions, orders that soldiers would literally not carry out, have been his suggestion in the past. There are things that need to be done, and it's a conversation that needs to happen. And they aren't just gun control. Let's go over that though. Gun control. If you are on a no-fly list, if you are under FBI investigation for terrorist sympathies, you shouldn't be able to buy an assault rifle. Assault rifles, the definition needs to be more profound. It needs to be more specific, and then they need to be banned. Weapons that are only meant for killing, not defense, but for killing. Something that deserves the qualifier assault, not a defense rifle, but an assault rifle. Something called that deserves a ban. Anyway, I've covered too much. If you're interested in the vlog as it comes up, once I have the set done and everything, it will be, like I said, a sort of reactive thing. Everything's set up here. Hopefully videos will be shorter. Most often they will, because it's going to be just one small thing. So follow on Facebook, The Misanthropic Optimist, also YouTube, Twitter. The Twitter handle is Misan, M-I-S-A-N, Optimist, because Misanthropic Optimist was too long. So Misan Optimist, or you can still find it by looking for Misanthropic Optimist if you write the full thing out, because that is the page's name. I will primarily be publishing through YouTube and Facebook. I'll probably just use Twitter to links into YouTube, depending on what sort of following there is there. But yeah, if you're interested, go ahead and follow. A lot of funny stuff and a lot of guests and things coming up that will be enjoyable.